All glories to Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. All glories to Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrta, Chapter 20, Text 120. Sadhu Shastra Kripaya Yadi Krishno Mukhahaya Sei Jiva Nishtare Maya Tanhare Chadhaya. If the conditioned soul becomes Krishna conscious by the mercy of saintly persons who voluntarily preach scriptural injunctions and help him to become Krishna conscious, the conditioned soul is liberated from the clutches of Maya, who gives him up. Purport. A conditioned soul is one who has forgotten Krishna as his eternal master. Thinking that he is enjoying the material world, the conditioned soul suffers the threefold miseries of material existence. Saintly persons, sadhus, Vaishnava, devotees of the Lord, preach Krishna consciousness on the basis of Vedic literature. It is only by their mercy that the conditioned soul is awakened to Krishna consciousness. When awakened, he is no longer eager to enjoy the materialistic way of life. Instead, he devotes himself to the loving transcendental service of the Lord. When one engages in the Lord's devotional service, he becomes detached from material enjoyment. Bhakti parishanubhavo viraktir anyatra kaishatrika ekakala. Bhagavatam 11.2.42. This is the test by which one can tell whether he is advancing in devotional service. One must be detached from material enjoyment. Such detachment means that Maya has actually given the conditioned soul liberation from illusory enjoyment. When one is advanced in Krishna consciousness, he does not consider himself as good as Krishna. Whenever he thinks that he is the enjoyer of material advantages, he is imprisoned in the bodily conception. However, when he is freed from the bodily conception, he can engage in devotional service, which is his actual position of freedom from the clutches of Maya. This is all explained in the following verse from the Bhagavad Gita 7.14. 121. Daivi hiesha guna mai mama maya durathyaya mameva ye prapadyante mayam metam tarantite. This divine energy of mine, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. 122. Maya mugda jivera nahi svata Krishna jnana jivera kripaya kaila Krishna Veda Purana. The conditioned soul cannot revive his Krishna consciousness by his own effort, but out of causeless mercy, Lord Krishna compiled the Vedic literature and its supplements, the Puranas. Purport. A conditioned soul is bewildered by the Lord's illusory energy, Maya. Maya's business is to keep the conditioned soul forgetful of his real relationship with Krishna. Thus, the living entity forgets his real identity as spirit soul, Brahman, and instead of realizing his factual position, thinks himself the product of material energy. According to Srimad Bhagavatam 1.7.5, Yaya samo hito jiva atmanam tri gunatmakam parophimanute nartam takritam chabi padyate. Due to this energy, the living entity, although transcendental to the three modes of material nature, thinks of himself as a material product and thus undergoes the reactions of material miseries. This is a description of Maya's action upon the conditioned soul. Thinking himself a product of the material energy, the conditioned soul engages in the service of material energy in so many ways. He becomes the servant of lust, anger, greed, and envy. In this way, one totally becomes a servant of the illusory energy. Later, the bewildered soul becomes a servant of mental speculation. But, in any case, he is simply covered by the illusory energy. Out of his causeless mercy and compassion, Krishna has compiled various Vedic literatures in his incarnation as Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva is a Shakti Avatar of Lord Krishna. He has kindly presented these literatures to awaken the conditioned soul to his senses. Unfortunately, at the present moment, the conditioned souls are guided by demons who do not care to read the Vedic literatures. Although there is an immense treasure house of knowledge, people are engaged in reading useless literature that will give them no information on how to get out of the clutches of Maya. The purpose of the Vedic literatures is explained in the following verses. 123. Shastra Guru Atma Rupe Apanhare Janana Krishna Mora Prabhutrata Jivera Hayagyana. The forgetful conditioned soul is educated by Krishna through the Vedic literatures, the realized spiritual master, and the supersoul. Through these, he can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead as he is, and he can understand that Lord Krishna is his eternal master and deliverer from the clutches of Maya. In this way, one can acquire real knowledge of his conditioned life and can come to understand how to attain liberation. Purport. Being forgetful of his real position, the conditioned soul may take help from Shastra, Guru, and the supersoul within his heart. Krishna is situated within everyone's heart as the supersoul. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 18.61, Isvaraha sarva bhutanam hriddesha rujna tistati brahmayan sarva bhutani yantra rudhani mayaya. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities who are seated on a machine made of material energy. As the Shakti-Avesh avatar Vyasadeva, Krishna teaches the conditioned soul through the Vedic literatures. Krishna externally appears as the spiritual master and trains the conditioned soul to come to Krishna consciousness. When his original Krishna consciousness is revived, the conditioned soul delivered from material clutches. Thus, a conditioned soul is always held by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in three ways: by the scriptures, by the spiritual master, and by the supersoul within the heart. The Lord is the deliverer of the conditioned soul and is accepted as the Supreme Lord of all living entities. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 18.66, Sarva dharmam parityaga mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshasyami ma sucha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. This same instruction is found throughout all Vedic literatures. Sadhu, Shastra, and Guru act as representatives of Krishna, and Krishna consciousness movement is also taking place all over the universe. Whoever takes advantage of this opportunity becomes liberated. 124. Veda Shastra Kahe Sambandha Abhideya Prayojana Krishna Prapya Sambandha Bhakti Prapatyera Sadhana. The Vedic literatures give information about living entities' eternal relationship with Krishna, which is called Sambandha. The living entity's understanding of this relationship and his acting accordingly is called Abhideya. Returning home back to Godhead is the ultimate goal of life and is called Prayojana. 125. Abhideya nama bhakti prema prayojana purushartha shiromani prema mahadana. Devotional service or sense activity for the satisfaction of the Lord is called Abhideya because it can develop one's original love of Godhead, which is the goal of life. This goal is the living entity's topmost interest and greatest wealth. Thus one attains the platform of transcendental loving service unto the Lord. Purport. The conditioned soul is bewildered by the external material energy, which fully engages him in sense gratification in various ways. Due to engagement in material activities, one's original Krishna consciousness is covered. However, as the Supreme Father of all living entities, Krishna wants his sons to return home back to Godhead. Therefore, he personally comes to deliver Vedic literatures like Bhagavad Gita. He engages his confidential servants, who serve as spiritual masters and enlighten conditioned living entities. Being present in everyone's heart, the Lord gives the living entities the conscience whereby they can accept the Vedas and the spiritual master. In this way, the living entity can understand his constitutional position and his relationship with the Supreme Lord, as personally enunciated by the Lord himself in the Bhagavad Gita 15.15, Padescha sarvar aham eva vedya. Through the study of Vedanta, one may become fully aware of his relationship with the Supreme Lord and act accordingly. In this way, one may ultimately attain the platform of loving service to the Lord. It is in the living entity's best interest to understand the Supreme Lord. Unfortunately, the living entities have forgotten that this is in their best interest, and therefore Srimad Bhagavatam says, Mate vidha svarta gatim hi Vishnu. Bhagavatam 7.5.31. Everyone wants to achieve life's ultimate goal, but due to being absorbed in the material energy, we waste our time with sense gratification. Through the study of Vedic literatures, of which the essence is the Bhagavad Gita, one comes to Krishna consciousness. Thus one engages in devotional service called Abhidaya. When the living entity actually develops love of Godhead, he has reached the ultimate goal, Prayojana. In other words, one who becomes fully Krishna conscious has attained the perfection of life. 126. Krishna Madhurya Sevananda Praptira Karana Krishna Seva Kare Ara Krishna Rasa Spadana. When one attains the transcendental bliss of an intimate relationship with Krishna, he renders service to him and tastes the mellows of Krishna consciousness. 127. Ihate drishtantayaiche dharidrera gare Sarvagya asi dukha deki puchaye tandhare. The following parable may be given. Once a learned astrologer came to the house of a poor man, and seeing his distressed condition, questioned him. Purport. Sometimes we go to an astrologer or a palmist when we are in a distressed condition or when we want to know the future. The living entity in conditioned life is always distressed by the threefold miseries of material existence. Under the circumstances, he is inquisitive about his position. For instance, Sanatana Goswami approached the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to ask him why he was in a distressed condition. This is the position of all conditioned souls. We are always in a distressed condition, and an intelligent man naturally becomes inquisitive. This position is called the Brahma Gyasa. Ato Brahma Gyasa, Vedanta Sutra 1.1.1. Brahma, he refers to the Vedic literature. One should consult the Vedic literature to know why the conditioned soul is always in a distressed condition. The Vedic literatures are meant to free the conditioned soul from the miserable conditions of material life. In this chapter, the story of the astrologer Sarvagya and the poor man is very instructive. 128. Tumikena dukito mara ache pitradhana Somarena kahilan yatra chadila jivana. The astrologer asked, "Why are you unhappy? Your father was very wealthy, but he did not disclose his wealth to you because he died elsewhere." 129. Sarvagira vakekare dhanera udeshe Archevera purana jive Krishna upadeshe. Just as the words of the astrologer Sarvagya gave news of the poor man's treasure, the Vedic literatures advise one about Krishna consciousness when one is inquisitive to know why he is in a distressed material condition. 130. Sarvaghera vakye mula dana anubandha Sarva shastre upadesha Sri Krishna sambandha. By the words of the astrologer, the poor man's connection with the treasure was established. Similarly, the Vedic literature advises us that our real connection is with Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita 7.26, Sri Krishna says, Vedham samatitani varta manani charjuna Bhavishani chabutani mamtu veda nachaschana. O Arjuna, As the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I know everything that has happened in all the past, all that is happening in the present, and all things that are yet to come. I also know all living entities, but me no one knows. Thus Krishna knows the cause of the distressed condition of the conditioned soul. He therefore descends from his original position to instruct the conditioned soul and inform him about his forgetfulness of his relationship with Krishna. Krishna exhibits himself in his relationships in Vrindavan and at the battle of Kurukshetra so that people will be attracted to him and will return home, back to Godhead. Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita that he is the proprietor of all universes, the enjoyer of everything, that be, and the friend of everyone. Bhoktram yajya tapasyam sarva loka maheswaram suhurdram sarva bhutanam. Bhagavad Gita 5.29. If we revive our original intimate relationship with Krishna, our distressed condition in the material world will be mitigated. Everyone is trying to adjust to the distressed condition of material existence, but the basic problem cannot be solved unless one is in an intimate relationship with Krishna. 131. Vapera dana ache jnane dana nahi paya tabe sarvagya kahe tare prapitra upaya. Although being assured of his father's treasure, the poor man cannot acquire this treasure by such knowledge alone. Therefore the astrologer had to inform him of the means whereby he could actually find the treasure. 132. Eistane achedhana yadi dakshine kudibe bimarula baruli utibe dhana na paibe. The astrologer said, the treasure is in this place, but if you dig toward the southern side, the wasps and drones will rise, and you will not get your treasure. 133. Paschime kodi vetaha yaksha ekahaya se vignakari bedane hatena padaya. If you dig on the western side, there is a ghost who will create such a disturbance that your hands will not even touch the treasure. 134. Utare kudileyache Krishna ajagare dananahi pabe kudite gilibe sabare. If you dig on the northern side, there is a big black snake that will devour you if you attempt to dig up the treasure. 135. Purvadike tate mati apaku dite danera jari pari beka tomara hatete. However, if you dig up a small quantity of dirt on the eastern side, your hands will immediately touch the pot of treasure. Purport. The Vedic literatures, including the Puranas, state that according to the position of the conditioned soul, there are different processes: Karmakand, Jnanakand, the yogic process, and the Bhakti yoga process. Karmakand is compared to wasps and drones that will simply bite if one takes shelter of them. Jnanakand, the speculative process, is simply like a ghost who creates mental disturbances. Yoga, the mystic process, is compared to a black snake that devours people by the impersonal cultivation of kaivalya. However, if one takes to Bhakti Yoga, he becomes quickly successful. In other words, through Bhakti Yoga, one's hands touch the hidden treasure without difficulty. The goal of all the revealed scriptures and Vedic injunctions is Krishna, as he himself says in Bhagavad Gita 15.15. Padescha sarvaraham eva vedyaha. Since the Vedas enjoin one to search out Krishna and take shelter at his lotus feet, and since no Vedic process but devotional service will enable one to do this, one has to take the devotional service. According to the Bhagavad Gita 18.55, only the Bhakti process is said to be definitive. Bhaktyamam abhijanati. This is the conclusion. This is the conclusive statement of the Vedas, and one has to accept this process if one is serious in searching for Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this connection, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gives the following statement. The eastern side represents devotional service to Lord Krishna. The southern side represents the process of fruitive activity, karmakand, which ends in material gain. The western side represents jnanakand, the process of mental speculation, or sometimes siddhikand, the mystic yoga system. The northern side represents mystic yoga, or sometimes the speculative method. It is only the eastern side, devotional service, that enables one to attain life's real goal. On the southern side, there are fruitive activities by which one is subject to the punishment of Yamaraj. When one follows the system of fruitive activity, his material desires remain prominent. Consequently, the results of this process are compared to wasps and drones. The living entity is bitten by the wasps and drones of fruitive activity, and thus suffers in material existence birth after birth. One cannot become free from material desires by following this process. The propensity for material enjoyment never ends. Therefore, the cycle of birth and death continues, and the spirit soul suffers perpetually. The mystic yoga process is compared to a black snake that devours the living entity and injects him with poison. The ultimate goal of the yoga system is to become one with the Absolute. This means finishing one's personal existence. But the spiritual part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead has an eternal individual existence. The Bhagavad Gita confirms that the individual soul existed in the past, is existing in the present, and will continue to exist as an individual in the future. Artificially trying to become one with the Absolute is suicidal. One cannot annihilate his natural condition. A yaksha, a protector of riches, will not allow anyone to take away riches for enjoyment. Such a demon will simply create disturbances. In other words, a devotee will not depend upon his material resources, but on the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who can give real protection. This is called Rakshishyatiti, Vishvasa, or in the Bengali poetry of Bhaktivinoda Thakur Sharanagati, Vasya Rakshibe Krishna Vishvasa Palana. The surrendered soul must accept the fact that his real protector is Krishna, not his material acquisitions. Considering all these points, devotional service to Krishna is the real treasure house for the living entity. When one comes to the platform of devotional service, he always remains opulent in the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One who is bereft of devotional service is swallowed by the black snake of the yoga system and bitten by the wasps and drones of fruitive activity, and he suffers consequent material miseries. Sometimes the living entity is misled into trying to emerge into spiritual existence, thinking himself as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This means that when he comes to the spiritual platform, he will be disturbed and will again return to the material platform. According to Srimad Bhagavatam 10.2.32, Ye Ravindaksha Vimuktamaninas Sayasthabhavad Abhishuddha Bhudaya Aroya Kutrena Param Param Tata Patantyadho Nadruta Yushmadangraya. Such people may become sannyasis, but unless they take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, they will return to the material platform to perform philanthropic activities. In this way, one's spiritual life is lost. This is to be understood as being devoured by the black snake. 136. Arche Shastra Kahe Karma Jnana Yoga Chayai Chaji Bhakti Krishna Vasahaya Bhakti Tanre Bhaji. The revealed scriptures conclude that one should give up fruitive activity, speculative knowledge, and the mystic yoga system, and instead take to devotional service by which Krishna can be fully satisfied. 137. Nasadhyati mam yogo nashankhayam dharma udhava nasvadhyayas tapasyago yatha bhaktir mamorjita. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, said, My dear Uddhava, neither through Ashtanga Yoga, the mystic yoga system to control the senses, nor through impersonal monism, or analytical study of the absolute truth, nor through study of the Vedas, nor through austerities, charity, or acceptance of sannyas can one satisfy me as much as by developing unalloyed devotional service unto me. Purport. This and the following verse are quoted from Srimad Bhagavatam 11.14.20 through 21. The explanation for this verse is given in Adi Lila 17.76. 138. Bhaktyaham ekaya graya shraddhayatma priya satam bhakti punati mannista svapakana pisambhavat. Being very dear to the devotees and sadhus, I am attained through unflinching faith and devotional service. This Bhakti Yoga system, which gradually increases attachment for me, purifies even a human being born among dog-eaters. That is to say, everyone can be elevated to the spiritual platform by the process of Bhakti Yoga. 139. Ateva Bhakti Krishna Praptayera Upaya Abhideya Balitare Sarva Shastre Gaya. The conclusion is that devotional service is the only means for approaching the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This system is therefore called Abhideya. This is the verdict of all revealed scriptures. Purport. As Lord Krishna states in Bhagavad Gita 18.55, Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tatvata tato mam tatvato gyatva vishati tad anantaram. One can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. And when one is in the full consciousness of me by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. The aim of life is to get rid of the material conditioning and enter into spiritual existence. Although the Shastras prescribe different methods for different men, the Supreme Personality of Godhead says that one ultimately must accept the path of devotional service as the assured path of spiritual advancement. Devotional service to the Lord is the mutual process. Devotional service to the Lord is the only process actually confirmed by the Lord. Sarva dharmam purityāga mamekam sharanam vraja. Bhagavad Gita 18.66. One must become a devotee if one wants to return home, back to Godhead, and become eternally blissful. 140. Jnana paile yaiche shuka bhoga phala paya sukha bhoga haite dukha apani palaya. When one actually becomes rich, he naturally enjoys all kinds of happiness. When one is actually in a happy mood, all distressful conditions go away by themselves. No extraneous endeavor is needed. 141. Taiche bhakti phale krishne prema upajaya prema krishna svadahile bhavanasapaya. Similarly, as a result of bhakti, one's dormant love for Krishna awakens. When one is so situated that he can taste the association of Lord Krishna, material existence, the repetition of birth and death, comes to an end. 142. Daridriya nasabhava chaya premera palanaya prema shuka bhoga mukhya prayojanahaya. The goal of love of Godhead is not to become materially rich or free from material bondage. The real goal is to be situated in devotional service to the Lord and to enjoy transcendental bliss. Purport. The results of devotional service are certainly not material benefits for liberation from material bondage. The goal of devotional service is to be eternally situated in the loving service of the Lord and to enjoy spiritual bliss from that service. One is said to be in a poverty-stricken condition when one forgets the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One has to end such a life of poverty in order to automatically end the miserable conditions of material existence. One is automatically liberated from material enjoyment when one tastes the service of Krishna. One does not have to endeavor separately for opulence. Opulence automatically comes to the pure devotee, even though he does not desire material happiness. (143) Veda Shastre Kahe Sambandha Abhideya Prayojana Krishna Krishna Bhakti Prema Tina Mahadana. In the Vedic literatures, Krishna is the central point of attraction, and his service is our activity. To attain the platform of love of Krishna is life's ultimate goal. Therefore, Krishna, Krishna's service, and love of Krishna are the three greatest riches of life. (144) Vedadi Shakala Shastre Krishna Mukhya Sambandha Tamragyane Anushangeya Maya Bandha. In all revealed scriptures, beginning with the Vedas, the central point of attraction is Krishna. When complete knowledge of him is realized, the bondage of Maya, the illusory energy, is automatically broken. Thus ends our reading for today. All glories to Sripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj Ki Jai. All glories to Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Acharya Maharaj Ki Jai. Krishna. All glories to Sripad Bhakti Nishkamashanta Maharaj Ki Jai. All glories to Sripad Bhakti Vijnani Muni Maharaj Ki Jai. Hare Krishna.